Beginning the process of healing physically from the child sexual abuse gave me hope that it was possible, even though I knew it was going to be awfully hard. Healing mentally seemed possible too. I had no idea how hard it would be. Hi everybody. Kevin Barheit here. Thanks for tuning in. As I started to heal physically from the sexual abuse and started to work through the issues that I had, I knew that there was something else that was missing. One of the pieces that I realized was so helpful to me physically was when I was able to identify my hands as those of my childhood hands, my hands as a baby, my hands before the abuse ever happened. I had to recognize that mentally that was going to be a part of my process too, but I had no way of understanding how to do that. I'd worked very hard and very deeply with my therapist and with others to really understand what had happened when I was 9, what had happened when I was 15, the molestation and the rape, and all of the behaviors that came out of that, and all of the dysfunction throughout my life. And I had a real intellectual understanding. But to heal mentally from that wasn't just simply having an understanding. Just as it took time for me to understand how to heal physically, it took time for me to understand how to heal mentally. And over time, I learned so much about myself. I learned about that child that I was before I was abused. I learned what happened to myself as a child when I was abused, how that changed me, how that affected me, how that broke me, how that hurt me, and how that shaped me. I learned all these things, and I learned them not just mentally, but even emotionally. I cried and cried and cried. I screamed and yelled. I talked and I talked and I talked and I thought. And I thought and I thought. And I had this encyclopedia of knowledge and emotions and facts and figures and sadness and joys. And I didn't know what to do with any of them. Then one day I was talking with my sponsor on the phone, and I mentioned to him that this was really a struggle for me. I didn't feel like I was healing in the way I needed to. He was not my therapist. He wasn't my psychiatrist or a psychologist or someone who was giving me that kind of guidance. He was just someone sharing their experience, strength, and hope. And he suggested maybe that I would spend a little time quietly talking and having a conversation with that young child that was me. It's called visualization. I didn't know what it was then, but I decided to give it a try. So I put some time aside, and on a day when my wife took the kids out for the afternoon, I made sure that the phone was unplugged and that I wouldn't be bothered in our apartment in Brooklyn, and I sat quietly on the couch, and I closed my eyes. And I took the time to remember who I was at 9, what I looked like, maybe how my hair was, what my face looked like, and how my eyes shined. I spent the time to see myself happy, and then I allowed myself to see myself as that child in that room and what happened. And of course it hurt. Of course I cried, but I kept my eyes closed. And I allowed myself to be with that child, be with myself. I slowed my breathing and I quieted my tears. And I imagined myself sitting next to myself, sitting next to my 9-year-old. And I said I was sorry. I said I was sorry that I couldn't run away, that I didn't know to leave the room, that I didn't know to yell, I didn't think to say stop. I didn't have the understanding that what was happening wasn't what I was told, that it wasn't happening because it was normal, that it was fun, that I was special, and that I was lucky. But I didn't cry when I talked to myself. I sat and I let my 9-year-old self cry. And my 9-year-old self forgave me. And I promised, I will never, ever let that happen to you again. I will protect you. I will always, always protect you. Over time, I spent more days practicing these visualizations, not every day, not every week, sometimes every month or so. And I became more confident that I really could protect myself. I became more confident that I could forgive myself. And I became more confident and more assured that I could heal. What I didn't know was coming was the necessity of healing spiritually. The journey of healing physically was powerful, and the continued journey of healing mentally is profound. I look forward to continuing the journey with you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.